Coach Brad Stevens. Coach, if you give us your opening thoughts, then we'll open up for questions.
We kind of used Xavier game as a measuring stick from November till now, and so I knew that our guys would be, engaged mentally and ready to play. I didn't know how what that would mean from a results standpoint. But both teams played really well. Both teams played really hard, and we were just lucky enough to make the plays in the last 2 minutes to win the game. And these guys started us off great, and it really led the charge for our program. In the past certainly, but really this year.
Chase, talk about the emotions of 7 days. Last Saturday night you felt one way. This Saturday night you feel a completely different way on the Zoom. Talk about the emotion, the highs and lows, and how important it is just to maintain an even keel.
Yeah, as an athlete in any sport, you're going to have highs and lows. And you got to just be able to turn it around the next day. You got to come in the next day, understand what you have done wrong or need to do better, and you just got to go after it the next day.
Rodney, you only got one season at Hinkle Fieldhouse. How special did this building become in that one season? I know it's not over, but you won't get to play here again. How special did this place become to you, and how nice is it to go out the way you did tonight?
It's really nice. It's been extremely special. Making the decision to come here was the best decision that I could have possibly made basketball-wise. And not only that, just the people that I've been around for the 2 years that I've been here, and from the teammates and the coaching staff and people I've met here while I've been on campus. It's just been really special, and it's fun to end it on a win like this.
Andrew, you've been here 4 years, long time. You've kind of seen this rivalry regrow with Xavier again. Kind of fitting way to end it tonight against those guys in particular. Kind of talk about the past 4 years in relation to Xavier.
Yeah, well, my freshman year was the crazy one. That last second shot ended up calling off the rest of the time on the clock. So, yeah, my freshman year was when it all. I guess the year before we won there, that's kind of what restarted all of it. But that year was crazy. Yeah, it's just been fun every year. Rivalries are fun. And when you play them, you know that you're going to get their best shot, and they're going to get our best shot. We didn't play particularly well the first time we played them this year, so we wanted to make sure we came out and played hard and played well, and that's what we did. It's not really just us at that point. It's just kind of all the teams that have played Xavier in the past, and you want to play well.
Hey, Rodney, obviously your shot wasn't where you wanted it in the first half. What started clicking in the second half for you, did you feel like? When you started hitting it?
Just having the confidence to continue to shoot. Our teammates and coaches just put that confidence in me. They keep telling me just to shoot, and guys got me open. We had some great, Drew and Cam and Kyle and those guys. They set great screens that allow me to get open, and then the teammates got to find me. So, and they did a great job of that. It's just a team effort.
Emerson, talk about your decision to come here, because you had other Division I opportunities where you could have been a much more significant piece of the puzzle. But talk about the decision to come here and experience all this.
Well, I think Chase was actually the biggest part of my decision. He was going through the process and he moved early, so I came to an open Zoom one time, and I just liked the guys. I had known Zach or whatever, and I just wanted to go to a place that has tradition, and the guys here are unbelievable. I made my best friends that I have lifelong friends. So for me, it was I want to play basketball at the highest level, and I also want to be part of a family, part of a unique group. So it was definitely a great decision, and something that I look back and Chase was a big part of it, getting me coming.
Who's the next Yorktown to Butler pipeline?
I have no idea. They got a couple good young players that are, I think, freshmen or sophomore this year, but I don't know. It was Pete, and it was me, and Ellie will be here for 2 more years, so hopefully there's another one coming soon.
Brad, you have a lot of season left, but what are some of the things that you remember the most about these 4 guys that stand up here?
Well, this is one of those teams that you have at the beginning of the season, and you say, we've got some guys that if they play well and play hard and play together, we could be a pretty good basketball team. And that doesn't mean you will be. And it's up to the guys in the locker room to give you that chance, and it's up to the seniors to help lead the way. And these guys have led the way in everything they've done. And I'm not so sure this isn't, one of the great Butler stories, because not only have they had a great season, regular season, but they've done it against the hardest schedule we've ever played, certainly in my time here. And both out of conference was obviously difficult, and then in conference, when you think about where we went on the road in our league, and how that all broke down, and to finish 11-5 is a heck of an accomplishment for these guys. And I'm really proud of them, but these guys led the way in that. And they kept us together when things weren't going well, kept our minds right, and when things didn't go well, they tightened the ship. They just tightened everybody together. Last week that's probably the thing I'll remember most, was the time between VCU and UMass, because that's when you need them the worst. And they stayed together, and they led the way.
Brad, talk about your defense tonight, kind of riding the ship. I mean, that total group effort on that end of the floor.
We played pretty well defensively, other than the VCU game. Really, I'd probably go back to Fordham, where we didn't play as well as I would have liked. But we played well against Duquesne. We played well against St. Louis for 30 minutes. We talked about that. VCU, we didn't guard anybody the whole time. And then the last two, we played pretty well. It's just guys are figuring it out. We've got two guards playing a lot of minutes that haven't played in our system before. This is their first March at Butler, Rodney and Kellen. And everybody's figuring it out. Everybody's doing a pretty good job. We had trouble with Taylor, as we knew we would. With 40 seconds left, we switched rows onto him and put Cam on Christian. And that's the nice part about those two from a versatility standpoint, because those guys can guard multiple guys.
Talk about Cam taking more minutes in that role now.
Well, he's playing really well. I thought Kyle played really well too today. I thought Emerson played really well before when he was in. But I think Cam's a very high ceiling guy. I mean, we can all see that because of his length and his bounce and I've always said his best attributes is lateral mobility.
Lately, you've
it's
seen
starting to come together offensively. He's starting to pick his spots and feel it better.
You seem to be trusting him more lately. Is that safe to say?
He's always been a guy, certainly on the defensive end, that's always been advanced with his understanding of where to be, what's going on. They ran a play late where he stayed back and left the top of the key. It was the next pass because he saw a guy dive into the rim, and he held it on for Andrew and pushed Andrew to that guy. And it was a senior play that a sophomore made that will never get talked about. But offensively, he's just, he's really coming along. He's really coming along.
Brad, when you played Xavier last time, it was Samaje's first game, and Isaiah Fillmore didn't play at all. What was it like preparing for a team that had those two guys in the mix and then facing them with a different complexion?
Well, when you get beat like we got beat, you hope that the team is worse when you play them the second time, but they were a lot better than when we played them the first time. I think Christian is as talented a guard long-term as there is in our league. And I think Fillmore did a great job on the blocks against us, and they tried to isolate. They tried to isolate both those guys, whether it was our matchup on them or they just wanted to get them the ball. And those guys are hard to stop, Taylor and Fillmore.
Andrew, how come they kept getting the ball so deep on the block those last 7, 8, 9 possessions of the game?
Didn't really tell you. That wasn't.
I was looking for a little bit better answers than that.
Definitely wasn't the game plan. We always want to try and push them out as far as we can, but like we said, we try to see that.
They run an excellent action, without getting too specific, where you can cut to one block or pass fake it, misdirect, and the screener's in the same place and he cuts the other block. And he's going to catch the ball. You just have to make him catch it going away. And we just didn't get it away enough. But credit Xavier's staff. It's an excellent action. We caught it. We were between them and the basket, but they were too deep.
Did you ever give any thought to fronting and helping from,
You go from the top into that area, so the problem with fronting is throwing over the top when Redford's in the corner. Nobody respects Brad Redford in the country more than I do. Like, these guys will tell you, when he's in the game, I was no threes, because it's a low possession game and he can change it. He's just like the guys we have.
Brad, you mentioned how they tried to isolate those two guys. Is that kind of what they did when they made that little run and came back on you in the second half?
They did. A lot of their points came off isolation. Kristen, and they do a great job, and Chris has always done a great job of finding the matchups he likes and going after them. They went with Kristen. He did a good job early on in the second half, and then Taylor late, Fillmore a couple of times as well.
Andrew, how important was this last week in getting the team playing the way you like to play as you head into the rest of the season?
Yeah, well, after you play a game like you do against VCU, you understand that some things need to change and people need to look at themselves and make sure we're doing what we need to do. So yeah, this week we've just been doing kind of the focus on this game. Well, first was UMass, and then first was Xavier, and we're just getting back to that one game at a time mindset. And everyone, I think, is starting to understand their roles a little bit better. We're starting to encourage each other a little bit more, and I think this next week is going to be huge for us. As we're in spring break, we're going to be together a lot when we go to Brooklyn. So. Yeah, it's been a lot of fun this week, and we've seen a lot of growth, and we just need to keep going.
Something else I'm really proud of that I didn't mention earlier is that these guys, we played late Thursday night at UMass, and for them to come back, it probably helped that in the Horizon we played Thursday, Saturday most of our tenure there, because that was a little bit unique this year.
Andrew, you played, don't know how many games, well over 100. You remember those first two games Coach talked about your head spinning?
Yeah, it was more than just those first two games. I mean,
it wasn't any
easier. Yeah, it takes a while to get used to the system, especially when you're the only freshman. But yeah, I had a lot of great help, especially Matt Howard and Avery Jukes as well. And so yeah, it definitely is a process, and I mean, you learn more every year. And but yeah, it was great, and I'm just excited that we were able to handle it.
Brad, how special or unique or good is this relationship between Xavier and Butler that goes way back and maybe will go into the future?
I think the most important thing, is just the understanding of how hard both teams have played. I saw a couple times, I mentioned this in the Gonzaga game, where each team helped the other person up. I mean, it wasn't anybody was competing any less, but there was a mutual respect there. And we've got a lot of respect for them. I'm glad that we restarted this series before we were in the same league, when Sean was still there, and we certainly would have continued it had we not been in the same league. But this league has been an unbelievable 16-game stretch. I don't know how these guys feel about it. It's the most unique thing I've ever been through, because this is only the second team all year that we've played twice.